Hello, I'm Becher Townshend and welcome to Fontcast, Tasmania's leading political podcast. Today joining me on what's likely to be an absolute cracker of an episode is my business partner and veteran, or should I say, former Liberal strategist, Brad Stansfield. Brad, what just happened?
Hello, Beach. Hello, Sam. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Here we are.
Not for everyone.
Yeah.
I've come dressed for the occasion.
You've got a black suit and
black
is that
tie,
a
my
black
suit,
tie?
my morning tie.
Yeah.
Anyway, what just happened, Beach? A bout of collective political madness. A bout of collective political insanity.
Insanity.
That is what happened. And just to be very, very clear, lest there be some confusion, because I think there is, unfortunately, amongst the mainstream media in this state, that insanity did not come from the Labor Party. No, ignore those voices. Labor did what all good oppositions do.
Yep.
They sought to bring down the government and to force an election when they think they are able to win it. There you go. No, the political madness we saw yesterday, Beach and Sam, was the lemming-like behaviour from the Liberal Party room that I warned about in our emergency pod a few days ago.
You did.
Where they have willingly chosen to go to their own political execution as a government rather than change their policies or change their leader in order to stay in power. I mean, look, a new leader wouldn't have lasted forever, of course. You know, and all governments come to an end, and this government was getting towards the end.
I think lipstick on a pig might be a good
Look,
analogy.
that could be a phrase.
But wouldn't it be good, like, isn't it a good thing to fall on your sword, not do the thing that the Liberal Party did federally a little while ago and axe leaders left, right and centre, people who weren't elected, all that kind of stuff. They just kind of walked out to the gallows and let the hangman
Yeah, I
pull
don't
the
know.
lever.
I'll tell you what,
Like,
Sam, when my time comes, I'm not going to be going voluntarily. But anyone, a new leader, would have given the government long enough
Yep.
to dump the stadium, which no one likes,
Yep.
in favour of York Park to shore
Yep.
up votes in the north,
Yep.
dump privatisation, set out a clear, forward-looking agenda for the government, buy some time, get your house in order, get your ducks in a row, and then inevitably when the election does happen,
Got a chance.
you've got a chance.
Yep.
But what happened, Beach, was, to be frank, yesterday, what the PLP, what the Premier decided and the PLP agreed to was mind-bogglingly, I can't even say it now, that was a money shot.
I know.
It was stupid, completely crazy, mind-bogglingly stupid.
Mind-bogglingly stupid.
But that's what the Liberal PLP affirmed when they met yesterday afternoon after the no confidence vote. I should say there were a few honourable exceptions. A handful of members of the PLP who live in the real world did speak up, but not enough.
No.
So just for those who may be wondering and to set everyone's mind perhaps not at ease, but so everyone is clear where this is heading, the Liberal Party leadership will not be changing. The die is cast.
Yep.
They have chosen to follow their leader to an election that they will lose. Now, Beach, just one more thing before I let you have a say.
Yep.
There's an old saying in politics, the worst day in government,
Worst day.
is better than the best day in opposition. And I think, sadly, in 6 weeks' time or so, the few members of the Liberal PLP who don't lose their seats at the election are going to find that out the hard way.
Well, I've got to say, Brad, unfortunately on this one, I could not agree more with you. I've been covering politics in Tasmania, studying it. I grew up in a family, like I suspect many, many people who listen to this podcast, who loved politics, loves Tasmanian politics, the Hare Clark, the whole system. it's a fascinating thing. There's never a dull moment. I still marvel that we can find scripts to roll out and rattle on about politics, but I've never seen a case where a political party or government would willingly choose to go in opposition, because that's what the Liberals chose to do yesterday. Perhaps the closest was 2010, Will Hodgman, when he declined to deal with the Greens after the election. But at least that had a reason.
It did.
A strategy behind it. Let Labor burn in government with the Greens and then win the next election in a landslide, which of course is what happened. What happened yesterday was nothing more than an extreme act of political self-harm. Anyway, before we go on, just a quick recap.
Yep. How quickly can you do it?
For those willing to catch up on a few things, so I will. Just on Tuesday, in his budget speech in reply, Labor leader Dean Winter tabled a motion of no confidence in the Premier and said he would move it when enough independents indicated that they would support it.
Yep.
By Wednesday morning, the numbers were in the bag.
Very quick.
Yeah, it's only a day. So Mr Winter dutifully moved the motion. 2 days of debate later, the motion passed as expected, 18 votes to 17. It was supported by 10 Labor members, including the Speaker, Michelle O'Byrne, who notably had the casting vote and also announced pretty well concurrently with that her time in politics has come to an end. So that was, she was a great speaker. She served the community well, and I wish Michelle all the best, but that's what happens at these times, and I suspect she won't be the only one that goes. Anyhow,
And just on that, there was some speculation again in some naive political circles and media circles that maybe Michelle O'Byrne wouldn't vote in favour of the Labor Party.
Yeah, I heard this one doing the rounds, and it was like, what planet do some people live on?
Well, planet wishful thinking.
Yeah, well, very wishful thinking, planet fantasy thinking. Michelle's always been a member of the Labor Party. She always has been clear about that. She's always been upfront about that. She made the comment in the House at the time. I think the bigger issue was really, her brother David had been maintaining confidence for the government, and so she was in effect voting against him, which I think would have made a difficult call for her to do.
Yeah.
But of course, she did the right thing, and
Right thing by her party.
by her party.
Just to be clear.
That's correct.
Right.
That's the party that she's
Interesting.
worked with for many
Novel
years.
idea.
Novel idea. Anyhow, 5 Greens as well, and 3 Independents: Christy Johnson, Craig Garland, and the last Lambie Network
I forgot
member,
he's still a Lambie.
Andrew Jenner. Consequently, the Premier has apparently advised the Lieutenant Governor to call an election pending a few ins and outs. Dean Winter saying no to forming a government with the Greens, and a sitting day next week to pass some kind of supply bill. I don't have my head completely around it. And it looks like we're off to the polls, probably on Saturday the 19th of July. Lovely, warm, sunny day, no doubt, in the middle of winter. And
A
Brad,
winter election. I mean,
winter.
they always go so well. I've
Winter
been
election
involved
that
in
everybody wants.
two winter elections. I've been involved in. So there was the 2018 Braddon by-election, which went for 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
In the middle of winter, and I think it rained every day because it was Braddon. It was the most depressing thing ever, and the result equally so. It ended Malcolm's political career.
Yep.
And then, of course, the 2016 federal election was also held in the depths of winter. Again, by Malcolm Turnbull, maybe coming from Sydney. He doesn't quite understand the cold. I don't know, but again,
How many weeks?
I think they lost 18 seats that election. Yeah,
And still, man,
that was a 7-week campaign.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
it was 7 weeks of hell. Anyhow.
Is it a winter election or the election of winter?
Yeah,
Which one?
Well, yeah, a little bit of a wordplay there, isn't there?
There's going to be plenty of puns around that. Anyhow, Brad.
The Mercury is going to go to town.
I remember it's on.
Yes, yeah, they just have to note it. There's a bit of speculation about Dean saying no to forming government with the Greens. I mean, on one level it makes sense, go into government, and if there is an election, go to the polls as an incumbent. What do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously I haven't spoken to them directly, but I think they've formed the view, the correct view, my view, my position, my view, that they will still be able to form government after the election, and that they will be in a stronger position to do so after the election, potentially without the Greens,
Yes.
without needing them. You
Yep.
know, if they can get themselves to 14 or 15 seats, they would likely be enough independents, non-Green independents. They may be anti-stating ones, mind you. We'll come to that.
Yep.
But enough non-Green independents to form government without needing the Greens, which obviously is their preferred position.
Yeah, look, you know, if you think it through, there's an opportunity to bring in some new blood. No doubt, given the general sort of, I suppose, swing towards Labor that we're seeing nationally out of the federal election and so on, they're likely to jag a couple of decent candidates, hopefully, I've got to say.
Well, you know, if you're a potential budding young, or maybe you're not so young politician, Eric Abetz set the bar last election, looking to run, who are you signing up for this election campaign?
Yeah, I'm joining Labor.
Oh, I know you would, but
Oh, thanks a million.
but yes, I think that's the point.
But the point is twofold on that issue. One is there is a great opportunity for people to come forward, I've got to say, particularly in this campaign. I think there will be a high amount of churn on both sides of politics. That's just my gut. I think we're getting to the tail of a Liberal government. Therefore, there will be Liberal members that may well run, but may well go quickly after, or may well do what Michelle did, pull the pin early. I think there is an opportunity for people who want to make a difference, want to be part of this political process. And despite what we say today, I think, Brad, we would thoroughly encourage them to put their best foot forward.
Oh, absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
Anyhow.
I mean, the Libs struggled to govern with 14 seats.
Yep.
A couple upstairs, 3 upstairs. They had 4, they've only got 3 now.
Yep.
You know, I can't imagine how Labor could possibly have a functional government with 10.
Well,
You know, it would at 10 out of 35. It'd be, you know.
well, they'll be running.
We'd be back to the polls a few months after.
I think that's right.
What would be, though, if Labor managed to secure a decent, stable government, other than the stadium? Like, what would be the first thing we'd feel? We've been under coalition rule, or not coalition, Liberal Party rule forever. For as long as I can, for as long as I've been here.
We'll be in a glorious socialist utopia.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We'll be in a national and state glorious socialist utopia.
My Twitter account will be deleted permanently straight away.
But what it will bring about is significant change, both internally within government and should it occur, a fantastic opportunity for renewal and refreshing. I mean, that's the good thing about new governments coming in, and they do come in with new ideas and fresh ideas. So it's quite an opportunity. Like, I always look at the change of government as an exciting opportunity for the broader state, because it can bring some good things with it. But anyhow, let's just dwell a bit upon how we got to this point. Brad, you know, did this have to happen? Do we have to have an election on?
No, we don't. Contrary to Associate Professor Richard Herr's advice in the Mercury yesterday.
Yep.
No, and an election was not inevitable yesterday morning.
Yep.
It was in fact the last option, not the first option. It was completely avoidable. Completely. Even after the no confidence motion passed, it was completely avoidable.
Okay.
How?
So, glad you asked, Sam. So, the Premier did not have to call an election, okay? He said yesterday, the Premier I'm talking about, Jeremy Rockliff, that he was, and I'm quoting here, heartbroken by the no confidence motion passing. Fair enough. Okay.
Yep.
You know, it's the end of his
leadership,
government, or not leadership. He's hanging on. But end of his
politics,
government.
man. Don't take it
It's
personally.
politics. That's right.
Well,
but to be frank, Beach, and you know, as a Liberal member, have been a Liberal member since 2004, and might I humbly suggest I had a small hand, just a small little hand in helping win us government in 2014 after 16 years in the wilderness, and played a small hand in subsequent elections since that point. The Premier might have been heartbroken, but I'm gutted. Gutted that rather than doing the right thing, in my view, the honourable thing, and resigning as Liberal leader after the motion passed, advising the governor to seek to commission a new Liberal Premier.
Yep.
Jeremy instead chose to call an election that on all the available evidence he cannot win. I'm also gutted, Beach, that the members of the Parliamentary Liberal Party individually, with a few exceptions as I mentioned earlier, but individually and collectively chose to allow that to happen willingly, as you said, willing executioners of themselves, because it was very, very clear that a new Liberal leader, Michael Ferguson, Guy Barnett, Felix Ellis, even Eric Betts, would have been afforded confidence on the floor by enough independents to keep the Liberals governing. It was crystal clear. They said it out loud.
They did.
They literally said it out loud. You know, we got this nonsense yesterday from the Premier and others that, you know, the PLP couldn't let Labor choose their leader. Well, guys and girls, it wasn't the Labor Party who voted no confidence in your leader. It was the Parliament. There's only 10 Labors, so to speak.
Yep.
You know, there was 8 others that voted no confidence in your leader.
Yep.
And perhaps, just perhaps, if you'd all made some better policy and political decisions over recent months and weeks and days, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Yeah, just a thought. Straight from the heart there, Brad. I got to say, I'm not going to argue with you. I do point out that, you know, even Christy Johnson stood on the lawns of Parliament House and said, just get a new leader and get on with it.
Yeah.
She wasn't saying, no, we need Labor. She was saying, just change your leader and get on with it. And I do agree with you around the Parliament. The Parliament has made a decision. So the Liberal Party, well, they might not like it, but the Parliament has made a decision. We have a Westminster process here, and the consequences of Westminster processes is we follow that process. So it is.
I mean, I think the Premier also said yesterday a number of things in his final speech, but he said that he'd never been interested in the numbers.
Well,
sorry, I mean, how does he think he got there?
Yeah.
I mean, how does he think he
Reasonably
was
important,
been in Parliament for 20 odd years? How does he think he became Premier? Because he had the numbers. The numbers in the party room, which people helped him to get.
Yeah.
You know, they said this sort of nonsense that the numbers aren't important. I mean, I'm sorry. Spare me.
Yeah. Well, I'm keen to look forward to how the imminent election campaign could play out. But before that, I do want to say a few things about Labor, because I think we're seeing Labor's actions
Did
being.
you see that little
meme
that
I did.
the Liberals put up last night? He's evil.
Yeah, he's evil. Yeah.
I think they stole it off the ABC and then sort of darkened it.
Yeah, it's sort of monochrome, and
His nose has
you
got a
can
little
see.
bit more of
You can see he's plotting. He's plotting to bring down the state.
Yes. Anyway, sorry.
Anyhow, the Libs are saying that Dean's a wrecker, and the Premier even suggested that Mr. Winter was playing unfairly. Oh no.
Terrible.
I'd say that Mr. Winter did what a good opposition leader does. He showed some mongrel, and I've got to say, we've just been missing for quite a while, and did everything he could to bring his opponent down, because that's
his job.
what he's there to do. That's his job.
The opposition leader.
Opposition.
And he didn't hesitate. He just ripped the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
Time, like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
And
there's plenty. It looks competent.
Interesting.
It looks very competent.
Well, some would say that things perhaps moved a bit faster than they expected with the no confidence motion. Probably. But once he set in place a set of events, you know, set of motions, there it is. You know, did Dean expect the Liberals to commit political hurry-curry and call an election?
No.
No.
Well, no one did.
No one.
Sorry, except Richard.
Yeah. No, yes, no one did. Like the rest of us, he expected them to do the sensible thing and replace Jeremy with a less likeable leader. But is he regretting his actions now that an election is looming? Not on your life. He will most likely be Premier in 6 weeks. Congratulations, Dean. Good work. Anyhow.
Put it this way, Peach. would my favourite former opposition leader, now member for Lions and assistant minister for federal member for Lions, assistant minister for things, would she have pulled this lever? Would she have had that mongrel within her to do this? Or did she over the course of 3
I reckon
goes?
she would have.
Well, no, she didn't. He's shown the mongrel, the hunger, the desire to win that they've been missing for the last decade, ever since Brian Greene left.
Am I going to quote Bob Cheek? I suppose I am.
Sure,
Please quote Bob Cheek.
One Bob Cheek quote that has always stuck. You've got to have a little bit of mongrel in you when you're in the opposition, when you're the opposition leader, and I do agree with that. All right. Okay, so let's look forward to the election campaign. You said in the last pod, Brad, that any election for the Libs would be unwinnable. Do you maintain that view?
Well, Beach, I always only choose to recite things that I predicted that are true, as opposed to the things that
all the others
turn
get
out to be false.
buried away. Yes.
But on this, look, every election is winnable.
Yep.
In theory.
Yep.
But my very, very strong view on this one is that this election is unwinnable for the Liberal Party.
For the Liberal Party.
Completely unwinnable.
Yep.
I will be very pleasantly surprised if they get more than 10 seats, 10 out of 35 seats, a net loss of 4 seats. I will be surprised if they do better than that, to be frank.
Yep.
Look, we know from our good friends at EMRS that the Liberals are at their lowest point in the published polling in 20 years. Just for the record, again, EMRS, the only accurate local pollster during the recent federal campaign. Labor's ahead of them, sure. Not by much,
No.
but by enough.
Yeah.
By enough to be clear favourites to form the next government. That's and as mentioned last pod, we had this confirmed by 3 IRL in real life, Beach.
Thank you for that.
Legico elections a couple of weekends ago.
Gen Alpha speak, right? That's
We saw the Liberal vote collapsed in Montgomery. The Liberals got pantsed, thrashed in Nelson, and Labor strongly increased their vote on the Eastern Shore. So the evidence, the real life evidence, supports the polling that the Liberals are in a very, very tough position. And again, we saw another poll yesterday, Beach, EMRS's annual budget survey, which did indeed confirm that the budget was a political stinker, a Barry Crocker, thanks for quoting that, Josh, and that the issue of debt would likely be a major drag on the Liberal vote. There it is. My view hasn't changed. And then look, as for the campaign itself, I think we had a taste of Labor's election campaign yesterday. Mr. Winter's summing up speech is quite short and succinct, summing up speech to the no-co.
Yep.
He said a few things, but the things that stuck in my mind, and I think he said these in this order, Labor would fix the budget.
1.
Stop the privatisations.
2.
Bring home the spirits.
3. Powerful stuff.
Even Sam's over there, the Libertarian voters nodding his head in. It works, doesn't it?
Tick.
Well, yes. Would I do the same thing? Probably not. I'd sell it all if I was privatize it. But that's another long and complicated story.
But
as a campaign
from their
mechanism.
position, they're brilliant ideas.
Yeah.
And so that's what they've got.
Yep.
I'm sure they've got more.
Yep.
What have the Libs got? They've got 12 years of political lead in their saddlebags.
Yep.
They've got this sort of giant stadium sort of dragging around Jeremy's ankle like the old ball and chain that the convicts used to have. Everywhere he walks is way down with this giant stadium.
What's that behind you?
And their campaign message to date, hopefully they get a better one, but at the moment it's Mr. Winter was mean to us. He's a wrecker.
Ooh.
So the stadium could still live, though.
We'll come to that. And then their other message, they've got a positive message.
They have got a positive, and here it comes, Sam.
Vote for us, and we'll give you that AFL stadium that 60% of you don't want.
There it is. That's great. Yeah, it's a winning strategy, isn't it? Perhaps not. Look, it does remind me, and even I'm not old enough to remember
on.
this, but my older brother Oliver would
Yes.
tell me,
Yes.
and he is right, and I have studied a little bit of political history over the years. In 1975, when Gough Whitlam was removed from office,
Yes.
I think he
Over a budget, was it?
Yes,
Yeah,
it was
couldn't pass
over the
budget.
failure of a budget. Yes,
It absolutely was.
Long live the Queen, because
Nobody will save the Governor
Think-
General.
think- Sam's got that
anyhow,
one.
May we say.
yes,
Kerr,
maybe.
all sorts of things, yes.
Yes. Anyhow, he ran on a sort of a campaign of "We was robbed, Mr. Fraser is evil," and guess what?
He lost.
In a landslide.
Yeah. I mean, confected outrage is not a winning political message.
Yep.
The feels, guys and girls, don't win you elections. Hard-edged campaign messages do. And in any case, in a week's time, no one's
Yep.
going to remember what the cause of the election was.
That's exactly
All
right.
they're going to be interested in is what the election's about.
And
What's
what does
happening
it
now?
mean?
And what's it mean for me?
Yep.
And for you and for you.
Yeah,
And
and
for our state.
What do I get out of it? So if somebody's saying to you, well, we'll fix the budget, well, that'd be good, please.
Yeah.
We'll...
I want to know how.
Yeah, want to know how. We won't privatise assets.
Thank you.
That's good, because I don't like that idea. Well, I'm not speaking myself, but speaking mostly the majority of Tasmanians. And we'll bring our beautiful boats back home, thank you very much, where they should be.
I reckon Dean's got things up his sleeve, though, as well. Like, he was talking about taking hydro off the NEM.
Yep. Yep.
Which
well,
and have Tasmanians play Tasmanian
Yeah,
prize. That would be huge.
Yeah,
I
that
feel
would
like
be
the
like
Liberals
massive.
promised that in the 2018 election.
I
and
think
Yeah,
then
but they didn't. They never did.
No,
never
Guy
even came close.
released on that. Yeah.
And then they've they're going to do something about the board that runs the waste levy. Dean announced that during his budget and
They're going to
reply
fix the
speech.
GBE speech.
Going to fix the GBEs.
Fix-
There you go.
New boards on
so
all
many
those ones.
new
Gone well.
boards.
Yeah.
So many things that align closely with Labor. Like, if they wanted to do that, if they could say we guarantee lower power prices, I mean, they Liberals would get
Look,
nothing.
well, we'll see.
It would-
I'm sure the Libs have got more up their sleeve.
Yes.
Anyway, the other thing though, Sam, and you alluded to it, so that's why I've just paused you there. But
Sorry.
Like it or not, this election campaign is going to be the referendum on the AFL stadium that we haven't yet had.
Yep.
It's unavoidable, guys. It is coming like a steam train. You cannot avoid it. In the last election,
Yep.
as I've said before, we mostly kept it out of the campaign, kept it hidden under the covers. We put tarps over it and sort of sprayed camouflage paint on it. Kept it mostly out of the campaign until the political geniuses at Team Tasmania and the last week decided that launching the Tasmanian team at the start of the last week of the campaign would somehow be good for the Liberal Party and good for the future of the team. Well, that's worked out well.
That's played well, hasn't it?
Well, that's the more important thing, though. What's good for the team doing it then was
Yeah, it was
Uh,
complete
didn't
madness,
look very
Sam,
good.
correct.
Yep.
This time, because the stadium and the team at the moment is the only positive message the Libs have got, they're still talking about it. They're already talking about it. I saw Eric talking about it this morning.
Yep.
They're going to talk about it. That's what they're going to campaign on it. Vote for us. And 60% of voters are straight away, sorry guys.
Yeah.
So they won't be able to help themselves.
So it's like Mr. Dutton and his nuclear power plants proposition,
Does seem
isn't
a little
it?
bit like
Yeah.
that, doesn't it? Look, sure, I get the point. People are going to start, spamming me and sending me rude messages saying that, Labor also support it, so it's not going to be an issue. Yes, they do, but I can guarantee you two things. One, it ain't going to be the centrepiece of their campaign.
Yeah.
It'll be somewhere down the back corner, hidden underneath the pile of
Camouflage that you
camouflage,
guys
like
used
I-
the last
like-
election
like
campaign.
send it to them. And the second thing is everybody else is going to campaign against it. Everybody else. So the Greens are going to be against it.
Yep.
Jackie Lambie Network, such as they exist, will be against it. The Nationals, yes, Beach, Tuck's back.
Oh,
Tuck's
he's back. He's back.
the Nationals.
really
Wow,
back.
Sweet.
They announced
Sweet.
yesterday
That's
that
awesome.
they're back
Go
Yep.
Tuck.
and they're against the stadium.
Oh,
I love it.
The
There you go.
shooters are against the stadium.
even the shooters are
The
against the stadium.
independents are against the stadium. Everyone except David O'Byrne is
The
against
Libertarians
the stadium.
are against the stadium.
Even
But-
Sam and his mates are
But
against it.
it's the problem with the stadium is that it's going to be the government spending $1 billion.
It's the
on it, right?
government's problem.
So if somebody came up with a plan for private money to fund a stadium. There's a way around these kind of...
There's many options.
To have the stadium still keep the team...
There's so many ways it can be fixed, Sam. But, I mean, the point is...
It's only you NIMBYs in Hobart. Oh, I don't want to see a single building change, like my skyline, blah, blah,
the
whatever.
Point is, it's going to dominate the campaign.
And
they won't be able to avoid it.
And as Brad quite rightly points out, it'll be seen as the Liberals' problem.
That's right.
Right? Labor can come up with alternatives. They can suggest other things. They can even talk about what they might do in terms of discussions with the AFL. But fundamentally, it will be Liberals' problem to fix.
If you don't like the stadium, you will vote against the Liberals. Sure, you mightn't vote for Labor.
Yep.
But you definitely won't vote for the Liberals.
But here's
a little factoid for you, Becher. I mean, there's people again. Oh, I'm sure I'm going to get inundated with sort of stadium and Kool-Aid drinkers telling me that there's an army, a veritable army of yes team, yes stadium, whatever it is. People that are going to go out and campaign for the Libs. They're all over Facebook. They're all over the comments. It's all happening.
Great.
So, remember how Marcus Vermey, the amiable butcher,
lovely guy,
probably be a Liberal candidate for Clark, I reckon.
Yeah, I hope so.
Went all in on the stadium and the team in the recent Nelson election.
Yep.
So I asked someone associated with that campaign, just to be clear, I didn't run it, how much practical help they got from all those thousands of real life IRL people and Facebook stadium supporters. That's right.
Yep, new word.
They got 6 sign sites.
6 sign sites.
6. That's it. No door knocking volunteers, no cash donations, no sort of wave of people volunteering to help.
Getting out in the streets and
6 sign
fighting
sites.
the good fight.
So I would just say to anyone out there or anyone in the Liberal PLP thinking that there's an army of stadium supporters willing to march to battle to help you, it simply will not happen. It's not a thing.
Yeah. He did knock on my door, and he had one volunteer with him, and her name was Jackie Petrusma.
And that was very good. Very good. She sounds like an enthusiastic young person.
She was out there like doing the hard yards with him. It was great, but he was doing it himself.
He didn't have half a dozen stadium people behind him.
Didn't have all these. He wasn't wearing a Team Tasmania shirt, and they're out in the street behind you kicking the footy.
I didn't see any of that. That would have been great. But
all right. Well, look, I suppose from my point of view, and I've been reflecting on the stadium and what will happen, and your question a little while ago, Sam, about what does it mean and where does it mean? Well, here's a scenario, right? The simple logic works this way. On the way numbers are sitting, and I'll be interested, Brad, to get your insights in a moment about where you think numbers are going. But the way numbers are sitting, if we have an election, and if the Liberals gain enough seats, when we have the election, and the Liberals gain enough seats to contemplate forming government, then they're going to have to go to the crossbench, and they're going to have to go.
Highly unlikely.
This is an unlikely scenario, but I'm just making the point for Sam. Okay. Right? They're going to have to form government. They're going to have to form government with people on the crossbench, which may or may not be the Greens, who are opposed to the stadium, and is likely to be a group of other independents who are opposed to the stadium. So therefore, they're going to have to drop it as a price for office.
The Nationals, for example.
Nationals, Tuck's going to say... Tuck's back.
No, the Nationals want a sheep run out there.
Well, anyhow, I mean...
Livestock.
I think
so they're going to have to...
Support the farmers.
They're going to have to say no to the stadium. Labor is in exactly the same position. They're going to want to not see themselves have to form government with the Greens, I suspect, very much. But if they do, the Greens are going to say, well, sorry, mate, you got this stadium. We've always said no. We're not changing. Bad luck. No to the stadium. So the only way that the stadium could be built in that context, here you go.
Waiting for you.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is controversial, but Labor and the Liberals get together and form government. Which, okay, I know, but I'm just saying. So what I'm really trying to say is, any way you look at it, stadium's dead.
Well, look at it. They've got more in common than you think.
But they're not going to do that.
They both try and copy each other all the time.
Literally voted voted each other out yesterday.
Yeah.
But look, obviously, if either side got majority government, yes, it would stay. Obviously, if either of them miraculously got to 17 and David O'Byrne was still there, it would stay. But
Yep.
I would humbly suggest that those scenarios are incredibly unlikely. I mean, in my view, how things may play out, I think, as I indicated, I reckon the Libs are going to lose a bag of seats. Probably 10. We'll end up with 10, maybe 11, but probably 10.
Yeah, I couldn't get past that.
ALP 12 to 14 at this stage. If they dump the stadium, 17. Hint. 4 to 5 Greens.
Yep.
And the rest, a motley collection of anti-stadium Nationals, Tuck, Lambies,
and David O'Byrne,
Independents, and David O'Byrne, the one pro-stadium independent that will be elected. So end result, I think we'll get as you said, Beach alluded to, a Labor minority government forced to either dump the stadium in the campaign in order to strengthen their vote because they need a bit more of a kick, or forced to dump it after the election when they are negotiating government with the independents.
Yep, I can't disagree with any of that, and I think it was foretold on Wednesday that's what
it's been foretold for about 3 years.
Yeah, okay. There you go. It's been a little while, anyhow. I mean, it does sort of beg the question. Perhaps over time we'll explore this a bit more as to why this wasn't seen or understood by others. I mean, I think we sort of touched on it, that it's just this sort of wishful thinking, cargo cult kind of mentality, which is just crazy. Anyhow, I gave a hint at the start of this pod.
A hint.
About your role in the upcoming election campaign, and you've told us it's going to be a stinker for the Libs. So does this mean you're giving up before you've even started, Brad? Which is somewhat out of character.
No, Beach. It means that for the first time since 2010, I'm not going to be involved in a campaign capacity with the Liberals for a state election.
Is this your choice, or have they said?
This is my choice.
You will not.
I will not.
Will not.
And let
get
me
involved.
tell you why, Sam. Again,
Please.
good interjection there.
I'm sorry.
There's a number of reasons, but the catalyst, the final story, if you like. So a month ago, I picked up some rumours around town that the independents were planning on voting the looming budget down, and that Labor was quietly encouraging them to do so. Now, I didn't put this on the pod because I put everything I heard on the pod, and this show really would, get us all in a lot of trouble. But these rumours I heard about, and I've been around politics in Tasmania long enough to know that with political rumours in Tasmania, where there's smoke, there's almost always fire.
Fire, correct. Yes.
It's almost inevitable.
Yes.
So, I, and a few others, it must be said, directly spoke to and warned the most senior people in the government about this. This is happening. We are hearing this. I'm hearing this. And I asked them, do you have Craig Garland in the bag? Will he support your looming budget?
Fair thing to ask.
Fair question. And then I sort of got slightly blank looks, have to be said. And so I advised them. I said, if you don't, I sort of strongly suggest that you might go and see him, sit down with him, find out what he wants, maybe before he sees the shit budget, and get him on the sticky paper, providing you with confidence and supply, at least for the next period of time. Get through this budget. Get towards the end of the year. You have the stadium coming, which none of the independents like, except for David O'Byrne. The legislation was set to be tabled. There was a budget coming, which everyone knew was going to be bad. Not as bad as it turned out to be, but everyone knew it was going to be bad. It was clear that there was a serious risk to the government could come this week. So, I passed information on, I advised them to act, and they didn't. So, to answer your question, Sam,
Yeah.
to be frank, I can't, I'm not going to help run a campaign when it's clear they don't want or respect my advice.
Fair.
Simple. And for the record, I let Jeremy, not directly, but his team, know of my position on the looming campaign before they chose that course of action yesterday.
So nothing's going to change that? A gig's a gig.
No, that's it.
$20 is $20.
So as I said, good luck to them. Right? Good luck to them.
Yep.
The graveyard, we all know, a political graveyard in this case is full of indispensable people.
Yep.
And I sincerely hope that they can pull a miracle win out of the hat. I'm certainly going to be watching and perhaps podcasting with great interest.
Well, at least you'll be able to keep... Oh, well, no, I'll be awake. But anyway, sorry.
Well, I've got to say that is a political bombshell if I've ever heard one. And over the years, I've found myself in the same shoes as you, Brad. Not in this exact context, but as you know, I was a journalist and I used to write stories, and I'd get
A grade.
A grade. That's correct.
And A for advocate.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it. And I'd write these stories and I'd get told how bad I was and how terrible it was to write these things in the newspaper and how could I possibly write them. And I'd sit there and I'd smile and I'd say, I'm just writing a story that has a message, and the message in it is worth listening to. So arguably, I'm the messenger. And when you recount that story to me, what you're really saying is, I gave them a message, they chose not to listen to it, but all I am guilty of being charged is being the messenger. And unfortunately, sometimes the message is a message that people don't want to hear. And clearly, this is one of those messages. So there it is. As ye reap, so ye shall sow. Because the irony is, at the end of it, I know, because you're my business partner, that you are a loyal party member and have been and will always be. And I can certainly understand that this must pain you greatly to do
It does.
this. Yes. There you go. Okay. I do have one little more exclusive I'd like to let our listeners know before we sign off on this episode.
Slightly more upbeat, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
slightly. I'm trying. Did you notice this week how the Tasmanian Industrial Commission recommended a 22% pay increase for politicians, Brad? Not 40%, 22%.
Was
Yes.
that the front page of the Mercury newspaper on Wednesday when they didn't mention that the election was about to happen?
Oh, they got it on about page 5. But
So-
yes, that'd be it.
Okay.
Yeah,
no,
well done.
I saw that, yep.
Most people didn't spot it, but do you know who did? That's the pay rise, that is.
The pay,
Yeah, just in the background while all this other stuff's going on.
well, media, I mean, the Mercury obviously gave it a fantastic run, but
Yep.
no one else, I don't think anyone else really picked it up.
Oh, I think there
No?
was a group of very self-interested people who saw it, and that's the Legislative Council. Yeah. Yeah.
You mean those people whose vote the government relied I don't know anymore, relied upon to pass the stadium enabling legislation, that group?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I seem to think that the government announced that they were going to not accept this recommendation.
They did announce that,
so
yes.
that means no 22% pay rise for all members of Parliament, including the members of the Legislative
So how
Council.
did that go down upstairs?
Well, I'm told on very good authority
Right, sounds almost like horses and mouths here, yes.
that the moment that decision hit the airwaves, 2 potential independent yes votes for the stadium walked straight out the door. Meanwhile, so even if Dean's little plan hadn't gone the way it's gone, I suspect it was only a matter of time. Yep. So there you go.
Well, I'm not a Labor man, as you all know, but was it Paul Keating who said, never get between a Premier and a bucket of money? I think never get between a Legco member and a pay rise. And I recall a couple of times being in that situation when I was in the big chair on level 11, and it's
22%. That's massive. Like, what do you get for just base level LegCo?
Well, there's a school of thought that says that the problem is that so few pay rises have gone through that it's probably catch up. Okay, so I think they're on 130.
Okay, so do that, but you've got to reduce taxes by 22% as well.
Well,
and we all get a 22%.
I think the point is, when you're trying to duchess people to support your legislation, you probably
need to think about the consequences of your decisions, don't you, Brad? Yeah,
that might be the lesson of today's pod.
All right.
What's the lesson?
Thinking about the consequences of your decisions and what they might mean for others. All right, on that second bombshell, there's been a few bombshells today, I've got to say. Until next time, next stop, state election.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brad.
Well, thank you for listening.
Yeah, I always enjoy listening. Sam, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, and if you have, I do have to push my fundraiser again.
Yes, go for it.
I'm about to go overseas and then come back, and we're going to hit it with the kitchen sink. But I'll put the link in the description, please. If you haven't helped out that, and you'd like to, that'd be great. If you want to give me a call and just say, go get them, that's good too. Whatever.
Good work. Good work. Well, you'll be returning to a glorious socialist utopia.
I can't wait. So, I can't wait.
Yep. There you go. Foncast is brought to you by Enterprise Marketing and Research Services, Tasmania's leading and trusted research provider. Foncast is produced and directed by Sam Eichen from Eichen Media.
Whatever, we'll take it.
And until next time, carry on.